On a related note, on top of the costs of the pandemic and the closures and the failure to approve a national budget, another election could cost Israel upwards of 3 billion shekels. Meanwhile, roughly 1 million Israelis are still out of work and bills are coming due, with practically no meaningful reprieve or help from government or bank authorities. With me to discuss is consumer behavior expert Dr. Vili Abraham. Vili, thanks so much for being with us. Now, let's start with bills coming due. I understand that the banks of Israel have a new initiative planned. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, well, the Bank of Israel has a new initiative which emerged out of a concern that people will not be able to return their loans in the long run. And what they want to do is if a family has earned up to 20,000 shekels in February 2020, then they should pay back 25 to 75% of their loan or mortgage. So they want people to start paying something back.
Well, but realistically, where does that leave people? Because that, at the end of the day, that's not a lot of money.
Well, if you look at most of the people who are unemployed, these are low-skilled workers, people who don't earn lots of money. And it means that for those families, even returning 25% of a mortgage, which can be somewhere between 750 and 1,000 shekels, can make a big difference. And I'm not sure that many of those families will be able to repay so much money. And this can be a serious danger to banks, which may not get their, the money back, which they've given out to loaners.
So is there any sort of better or more affordable plan that you could think of?
Well, what we need to do is we need to think of how to bring people back to work and look at what other countries have done in order to keep the economy working. I think that opening only 50 malls across the country is not a good solution. I think we have to open more malls, but we have to enforce social distancing. And I think that if we do that, we can bring more people back to work and get the economy going. That's the only solution. The only solution is to get people back to work, to make money, and to be able to repay their loans. Otherwise, they won't be able to do it. They'll default, unfortunately.
All right. Well, while all of this is happening, of course, Israel is on the brink of a fourth election, the fourth one in 2 years, and it's estimated to cost upwards of 3 billion more shekels, as we said earlier. And we still don't even have a budget for 2020 or 2021. We've been running on partial budgets since several years ago. How can we pay for that?
Well, the only solution now is to increase the budget deficit, which is, as it is, 13% of the gross domestic product, which is very, very high. So they will have to increase it. If you look at what happened in previous years, Election Day was a holiday and people went out to spend. For example, in 2019, in September, people spent about 1.1 billion shekels in using credit cards. We're not talking about cash. So because people spend so much money, it offset the cost of the elections. But elections are very, very expensive. Now they'll be more expensive than prior to COVID-19 because you need to have more more schools where people will be able to come and decide who they want to elect. So you need more people, greater budget, and we might need 2 election days because of the social distancing that we want to keep to.
So how does that affect elections? Or rather, how would elections affect the banks and average Israelis in the short and the long term?
Well, if we look at the stock markets, for example, it depends on who investors think will be the next prime minister. And if there's optimism, they'll, bring stocks up. And if there's pessimism, because they don't think anything will change and business is not going to get better, then the stocks will be hurt significantly by this. So it really depends on what they think or who they think will be the next prime minister, and whether they think there'll be any changes in policy.
Well, I guess we have no choice but to wait and see. Dr. Vili Abraham, thank you so much.
Thank you.